The first thing she noticed wasn't the leak. It was the silence. The kind that settles in after a room full of people has already decided who you are and left you there alone with it. Elena Hart stood in the center of her penthouse living room, heels in hand, staring at the slow drip, falling from the ceiling into a crystal bowl. She dragged underneath it. Each drop echoed louder than it should have, like it was mocking her. Drip, drip, drip. Just hours earlier, that same room had been filled with laughter, polished, curated laughter from people who smiled. Too easily and judged even, faster investors, board members, people who had whispered just loudly enough for her to hear. She's brilliant, sure. But cold. Does she even have a life outside work? No warmth. No relatability. The worst part wasn't that they were wrong. It was that they weren't entirely right either. She pressed her lips together, forcing the sting back down. Reputation wasn't just image. It was leverage. And right now, hers was slipping. Her phone buzzed on the marble counter. Board dinner next week confirmed. Spouses encouraged. Elena exhaled slowly. Of course. Because what better? Way to judge a woman in power than by the absence of someone standing beside her. Her gaze flicked back to the ceiling. Another drop fell. Perfect, she muttered. That's when she made two decisions she never thought she would. She needed a repairman, and she needed a date. 2 days later, she stood by the door, arms crossed, already regretting both. When the bell rang, she opened it with practiced indifference. The man on the other side didn't look like what she expected. He wasn't rushed or overly eager. He wasn't trying to impress her penthouse or hide discomfort. He just stood there, calm, steady toolbox in one hand, the other loosely holding the small hand of a little girl beside him. She peeked out from behind his leg, clutching a stuffed rabbit. "This is—" Elena asked, eyebrows slightly raised. "Sorry," he said, his voice warm but tired in a way that felt honest. "Daycare canceled last minute. I didn't want to reschedule on you. We can leave if it's a problem." The girl looked up at Elena with wide, uncertain eyes. Elena hesitated. She should say yes. She should say this wasn't appropriate. She should close the door and call someone else. Instead, she stepped aside. "It's fine," she said. "Just be careful." The girl smiled instantly, like she'd been handed something precious. "Thank you," the man said, and meant it. His name was Daniel Brooks. She learned that slowly, in pieces, not because he offered the information, but because it slipped out naturally. He didn't fill silence just to fill it. He worked. Focused. Efficient. The kind of person who didn't need to prove he knew what he was doing. Elena watched from the kitchen as he fixed the leak. His daughter, Lily, sitting cross-legged on the floor nearby, quietly coloring on a piece of scrap paper he'd given her. No tablet. No noise. Just content. "That's unusual," Elena said before she could stop herself. Daniel glanced down. "What is?" "She's calm." He smiled faintly. She's had to be. Something about the way he said it made Elena look closer. "You're a single parent." It wasn't a question. "Yeah." No elaboration. No self-pity. Just truth. Elena found herself stepping closer, leaning against the counter. "That can't be easy." Daniel shrugged slightly, tightening something under the sink. "Most important things aren't." Lily looked up at him. "Daddy, is it fixed?" "Almost, bug." Elena felt something shift inside her. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't knock her off balance. It just moved, like a door she didn't know was closed had opened a few inches. By the time he finished, the drip was gone. The silence wasn't. But it felt different now. "How much do I owe you?" she asked, reaching for her wallet. Daniel told her. It was less than she expected. "You undercharged," she said. He shook his head. "I charge what it's worth." Elena studied him for a moment. Then, before she could overthink it, she said, "I need another service." He paused. "What kind?" She met his eyes. "A fake date." The words hung in the air, sharp and out of place. Lily blinked. "What's a fake date?" Daniel crouched slightly, murmuring something soft to her before standing again. "I'm sorry," he said carefully. "I don't think It's just one dinner," Elena cut in. "A corporate event. I need someone to stand next to me, talk, smile. That's it." He didn't answer immediately. "Why me?" he finally asked. Elena hesitated. Because you don't feel fake. Because when you walked in, everything felt quieter in a way I didn't realize I needed. Because you didn't look at me like I was something to measure. Instead, she said, because I trust you. That surprised both of them. Daniel studied her face like he was trying to decide if that word belonged there. And she? He asked, nodding toward Lily. You can bring her, Elena said quickly. There's a sitter at the venue. It's very accommodating. Lily tugged his sleeve. Can we go, Daddy, please? He looked down at her, then back at Elena. Just one night, he said. The evening of the dinner, Elena didn't recognize herself. Not because of the dress or the flawless makeup, but because she was nervous. Daniel arrived in a simple suit, nothing flashy, nothing forced. Lily held his hand again, her rabbit tucked under her arm. You clean up well, Elena said lightly. You look... He paused, searching for the right word. Like you don't need any of this, he finished. For some reason, that meant more than any compliment she'd ever received. The room shifted when they walked in. Eyes turned. Whispers followed. But this time, they sounded different. Is that her partner? She looks softer tonight. Who is he? Elena felt it, the change. Not because of the dress, not because of the performance, but because Daniel wasn't performing. He spoke when spoken to, listened when others talked, stayed grounded in a room designed to make people lose themselves. And Lily? She charmed everyone. Even the harshest board member softened. When she shyly offered a crayon, drawing of her daddy fixing a ceiling, Elena watched it all unfold like something unreal, until one comment broke through. You've been hiding him, someone said with a laugh. Smart move. He makes you look human. Elena's smile faltered. Make you look human, as if she wasn't already. As if this kindness, this connection, was just another strategy. Daniel noticed. Of course he did. He always noticed. You okay? He asked quietly. For a second, she considered lying. Then she didn't. I don't want to look human, she said softly. I want to be. Daniel held her gaze. You already are, he said. You just forgot. The night ended, but something stayed. In the quiet car ride back, Lily had fallen asleep, her head resting against Elena's arm without hesitation. Elena didn't move, didn't breathe too loudly, didn't want to break whatever this was. When they reached her building, Daniel gently lifted Lily. Thank you, Elena said. For the night. For reminding me what matters. He shook his head. You didn't need me for that. Maybe not, she said. But I needed someone to show me. There was a pause. A long one, the kind that could turn into something, or disappear forever. Elena, he said slowly, it can't be another arrangement. It's not, she replied. And for the first time in a long time, she knew she wasn't lying. Weeks passed. Then months. The dinners stopped feeling like performances. The penthouse stopped feeling empty. Lily's drawings started covering the fridge. Daniel fixed more than just her ceiling. And Elena? She changed. Not in the way the world expected, but in the way that mattered. She listened more. Smiled without thinking. Showed up, not just as a CEO, but as a person. And when the board met again, no one mentioned her reputation, because there was nothing left to question. One evening, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, Elena stood in the kitchen watching Daniel help Lily wash her hands. Water splashed. Laughter echoed. Daddy, you're making a mess. You started it! Elena shook her head, smiling. The silence she once feared was gone, replaced by something louder. Monsieur. Real. Daniel glanced over at her. What? Nothing, she said softly. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. Because somewhere between a leaking ceiling and a borrowed date, she had found something she never thought she was missing. Not just love. Not just family. She wasn't letting it go.